Welcome to the Simon Says Music podcast. In this series, we will be talking to unsigned and independent music artists and bands about their musical journey so far. In the podcast, I will be joined by my very good friend, music producer, technician, and everything else, Nathan Scott.
Pleasure to be here. Please drop a subscribe on wherever you're listening to this. It helps us out more than you can know, and enjoy.
Welcome to the Simon Says Music podcast. Today we're joined by none other than Jamesy, a singer-songwriter from Ireland. Hello, James.
How are you doing, Simon? What's the crack?
Pretty good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I've been better, but we're on the right side of the soil, as they say.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. So then, just so everyone knows who you are and what you do, just introduce yourself for everyone.
So, I'm Jamesy O'Kane. That's the name I go by. I'm from County Tyrone in the north of Ireland, and I've been on the music scene for nearly 10 years now, since I was 16. So I'm now soon be 26, unfortunately. So getting older, but I've been playing bars and clubs around Ireland and also in the United States for 3 years as well. So I'm just getting new music out there and trying to put my spin on my art, as they say, or my interpretation of it.
Absolutely. Really good. Now, I've heard that you've just released your new single, which is called Understand, which to me, I find is amazing. So well done for your single.
Thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely, very welcome. So tell us all, what's the new single about and how it came to be about?
The new single was written about 6 years ago, so it's been 6 years in the making. Probably a lot of laziness in between there for a long time of actually going to get it recorded. So it's my first record. It's written just about, I wanted to capture the essence of the natural circle of life, kind of where things begin and go well and then they fall apart, and then with time we take the lessons that we learn from them, and basically songs of experience is what I was going for, and I thought I captured that the best I could with that lyrically.
You've definitely done that on the single. It can show through the lyrics.
Thank you. But musically, it was just, I had to get into the studio. It's okay on an acoustic guitar by yourself going, oh, that sounds good, but it's hard to picture other instruments in your head when you're focused on your own. So yeah. I was more than happy to send it to yourself to have a listen.
How did you find that process, as you said, from going from, playing live on the circuit for 10 years, going around just you and your acoustic guitar, perfecting it, and then in a studio and, trying to add more bits to it? How did you find that process?
It was a very unique process, is the way I found it. It scared me for a long time to go and record it.
Well, 6 years it scared you for.
Yes, exactly right. And it was always in the back of my mind, I need to start recording, and things happened, and you can put all the excuses of it there. But essentially, I got in touch with a woman from Dunfanaghy in Donegal, and she gave me some contacts, and I got hooked up with a producer, and I really liked the way he produced his records for other people, and I just kind of took it from there. Bag of nerves, and really was able to see how the sausage was made, as they say. It's a pretty enjoyable process.
I like that concept.
It was a very, very enjoyable process. So seeing how he works things and how, not simple wouldn't be the right word, but how much less work it takes than you do think it takes in your own head when you know nothing about it. But definitely a big adjustment, because once you're live, you just have that moment and then it's gone.
Absolutely. Probably one of the best feelings, I would imagine.
Depends what sort of night. I've definitely died on my ass, as they say, many a time. And that's the only advice I give to younger musicians going onto the circuit is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and you will. It's not you may, you will go down like a lead balloon, but you keep at it and craft your trade, and it's all part of it.
Yeah, we've all been
Absolutely.
there, haven't we? Everyone's died a death on stage, even the greats. I'm sure. I'm sure when the Beatles first started out, they were rubbish as well on one night here and there. I remember I have that guitar up there is an auto tuning Gibson, which sounds really cool. But I went on stage, pressed a tune, strummed it, and all the strings broke, and suddenly I was left there with no guitar, and I had to just end the set. Things like that happen all the time to people. String breaks, you haven't got a string. You're out of tune, you don't realize. Or you're playing to three people. I think you're right. It's part of the experience, and for young musicians, just get out there and do it. We've all done it.
Exactly right. You could forget batteries for your guitar, wireless
Yeah.
mic, and some nights I've had to just one night because you always learn. You had to pull up a bar stool right up to the bar and say, "Quieten down if you want to listen. Here's an acoustic set for you." you know, just try and always have a plan B. That's why I'd feel sorry for guys who go out and would just use the backing tracks and don't play an instrument at all, because if that goes, and I've seen it happen,
Yeah.
there's literally no backup plan.
So going back to your songwriting processes and everything, would you say your major influences in writing are?
Uh, Definitely Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen and John Prine, the likes of those guys. The storytelling aspect of music always intrigued me. Now you'd have my mates going, "Oh, 1975 new song out there now," where I might be going back to listen to the Nebraska album. You know, something completely different, and you just gotta. It's like a DIY pack for an artist, where you gotta take the bits that you kind of like and make it your own, and not be plagiarizing would be a strong word, but definitely getting an essence and a foundation for it. So definitely Bruce Springsteen was a big influence in my music and writing. I just think some of the way he captures songs is fantastic, and it would be some that people's never heard of, to be honest.
So you sound like you're mainly like lyrics based, almost like inspired by lyrics. Do you tend to write lyrics before a melody, as they seem so, like, as you said, storytelling and integral to you?
I would 99% of the time go to the lyrics. I'd watched the documentary on the Eagles once, and Don Henley made a good point that he took songs and he says, read that like a poem. He says, I want it to be to run off the tongue, be very poetic, be very moving. And if the lyrics aren't grabbing you, if that is the way you want the song to be, uh, other songs, as you have heard, have 20 of the same line or a number one hit. And it's to their own. I don't knock any person doing that. Uh, but lyrics are very important to me, because I feel that there's definitely a lack of that in the circuit, or what is being heard. Because there's plenty of people like myself, a lot better than myself. I will happily admit that. Uh, but it's something I would like to see change, where people be going, that's a great line, like John Prine and the song Sam Stone. Sweet songs never last too long, and broken radios. Something like that. I thought was poetic gold. Basically saying it doesn't matter how good you are if you're still a crappy person. You know, things like that, and they jump out at you, and you're like, I need to get something like that.
So how did you get into the music scene?
It's very interesting. My dad, he's a very good singer, but he never really had the confidence to sing it out and about, unless he was, out at a party, about a karaoke. But definitely him singing around the house. But then just going out and seeing bands at like weddings and even down the bars and stuff in my younger days, you were kind of amazed, going, well, I'd love to be like that there, but I have no idea how to do it. And you just get talking to people, and I'm lucky I had a contact of mine, Brian McDivitt, played with the Drifters. He did the keyboard and stuff for them, and Smokey as well, for many years. And he kind of took me under his wing then, and took me out to shows to help him with sound or the lights, or even go up and sing a few tunes. So definitely good mentorship there. But it's all a natural process of whether you want to do it, because you're always going to be scared. You're always going to be nervous as a performer, and if you say you're not, I think you're a liar.
So when did you realise you had a voice, as it were?
I still question that till this day, Simon. So maybe 10 years time. I kind of had something to work with and just kept at it, and went into a local theatre group and was kind of getting some vocal lessons there, some sort of direction, and then definitely doing some musicals with them really brought my confidence on. And I think part of it, like a guy told me, 80% of it is showmanship. You look at the likes of James Brown and stuff. Like I know plenty of good singers, great singers, but they just go on one song, next song, instead of someone with a good crowd interaction. You always remember them guys, like a guy up on the table playing the fiddle, or some guy with an epic guitar solo on top of the bar behind his head, which I've witnessed, which was unbelievable. And it's hard really to put a finger on them, like, but you just keep at it and hope for the best. You only get better at singing by singing, essentially. Well, with some sort of direction, foundation.
So you mentioned quite a few musicians, like I say, that inspired you. Do you listen to them continually today? Like say Bruce Springsteen and John Prine, for example.
Springsteen definitely is always creeping up on the playlists. A couple of times people requested I do a Springsteen tribute show, so I just did that in the old Facebook Live shows to
Oh wow.
keep my sanity
Oh,
over the
brilliant.
lockdown. So I would always be looking up new material because there's always like-minded people like that. John Prine, I didn't really get into John Prine to probably a couple of years ago, till a friend of mine. I'd heard his songs, but I never knew it was a John Prine song, if you know what I mean. But the likes of Dolan as well, I'd be in and out of that, kind of dipping my toes in, but not trying to go down the rabbit hole. But there's many other artists too who influence you, just not by your writing, but how they uh, put their song across. Like I'd be a massive Elvis Presley fan, but Elvis didn't write very many songs.
No.
But
Very true.
like him and Johnny Cash was a big influence. Some of the first songs I learned were by Johnny Cash, because that genre just always, the country genre always interested me, but he had that kind of sharp like a razor blade and the beat like a train, and you know I'd say I'm everything except death metal, really. Like I give everything a chance. I just don't have the voice for that.
Well, it's hard to achieve death metal on an acoustic guitar as well. Although I've seen it tried.
Exactly
Very
something
few,
good.
very few pull it off, Nathan, but people do try.
Yeah.
You have to give them that.
So what is the music scene like in Northern Ireland? Because it's somewhere I've not ventured to. I'd love to at some point. But is there, yeah, how is there a lot of, generally speaking, Irish and Northern Irish folk? Is there a lot of, a lot of country style, as you said, Bruce Springsteen inspired?
Um, there's the last number of years. There's definitely been Irish country, is what they call it,
Yeah.
and if I've had a few drinks, I will definitely sing them up like any other guy. Like Nathan Carter, Liverpool native. He's a massive, massive star here. It just depends. They love their country music here, so it's kind of hard to get into the folky stuff and all. And especially even trying to play original songs, and people say, play Queen of the Silver Dollar, would you? And you're like, okay, no.
Well, it's interesting to hear
You
is that
don't.
it's a similar issues. Because we get that a lot here, in England is play Wonderwall, play this, play that, and all that. And yeah, so, but have you found people, when you get your originals out there, have you found a good reception for them live?
I have indeed. Kind of the Facebook Live shows was when I introduced them. I would kind of kept them to myself, and maybe for close friends and stuff, if or other musicians were all playing their own stuff to get some feedback. But it's definitely got a good reception, especially with the American fan base. As I say, I was over there for 3 years and was gigging around there.
Yeah, what was that like?
It was a great experience. I will take my hat off. They are, no disrespect to the people here, but they're some of the most loyal people musically that I've met. People would have driven for 5 hours to go and see While here, people wouldn't go to the pub next door sometimes to go see because Casualty's on BBC.
I think that's so true. And whereabouts in America did you go, or did you sort of go all over?
I was based in Indiana, so just south of Chicago, and that's where I did a lot of my gigs. And then I made a contact with a guy. It turned out he lived 5 minutes away, but he'd been in the States for 27 years, and
Wow.
I knew his family, he knew mine, so we did a couple of gigs up in his basement for the online shows, and before that we were in parking lots maybe playing. He's really Irish music, and he had a great following, a very loyal and massive fan base. Uh, but they showed a lot of appreciation, obviously, because their tipping system, they're obligated, it's their right to tip you, and you have to accept it. Which I wasn't saying I'll put that back in your wallet, but they have a lot of appreciation for music, and you get that following who want to go and see you. They would see you 4 times a week,
Definitely.
playing 4 times a week, and go anywhere to see you.
Are you playing your originals there? Because you said you didn't play them too much out on the road, particularly in Northern Ireland. But did you play your originals out in America?
I played a few. Um, I played a few, and they went down well. It's just getting people in the right uh, frame of mind to listen to them, because you can just slip it on there, and I've had to do that sometimes, especially here. If someone tried to slip an original in, they'd be going, "What's that tune there?" But luckily, I haven't crossed that bridge yet. But there, folks, this is a song I wrote. Hope you can take the time, a bit of hush there, and they give you the time to present yourself, and they realize that you're an artist. You're more than a pub singer or a club singer, like you do. And there's nothing wrong with that either, to make money, but
Mm.
you always want to take it to the next level as a musician, I feel.
Maybe you should try and say that it's a Springsteen song that wasn't released, but you just heard it recently, and you could try and say
New
it's a
and
cover,
exclusive.
and you could play them more.
Hello, Lawsuit. No. You could try that, and so sometimes you don't say, "Oh, this is a Springsteen song." You just play it, and someone will go, "Is that an original song?"
Mm.
I think, what song was it I played one time? There was a song, "Cairn River" by Merle Haggard, and "Back in Your Loving Arms," like John Hagworth, I think, but Glenn Campbell and Elvis had done it, and people says, "Were they original songs? They were so good." And I'm like, I wish. you know.
Yeah, there is a big tradition of that, particularly in country. As you said, well, Elvis didn't really stay in country, but Glenn Campbell, Elvis, they all traded songs, quite a lot. So it's, even they might think, oh, that's an Elvis song, but as you said, unless most of the time they weren't his songs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, even a man so diverse, as much some people will be saying about how he was on stage, like physically and stuff like that, but for the shape he was in, if I could even sing half like that, I would be more than happy. And that's what puts him under a category of his own, where he could sing any song, and his repertoire's from country to a bit of rock to even soul and gospel. It's it would be great to have that, but it's easier said than done. But you definitely notice the crossover now. The likes of, say, Katy Perry was real Christian music into pop, and Taylor Swift was more country and moving into mainstream stuff. So it's always good to get started somewhere, but I hate to put myself in a box.
Mm.
Definitely.
Someone says, "What type of music do you play?" And I'm kind of like, all kinds, just not death metal, as I said.
So you mentioned that you have some original songs that you've been performing live, as well as obviously the brand new single that we talked about. What do you plan to do with the originals? Have you got any more to record?
Probably another 7 or 8 to get recorded, so they just take time, and uh, see how they fit then within a project. I wouldn't be one of the people who would just record 10 songs, throw them on an album. There's my first album. I definitely want to get things recorded while they're still fresh, and put the appropriate time into them. But I have a firm belief in the whole album as a piece of work mentality,
Absolutely.
where I've seen friends put ones out and good albums, good songs in it, but just collectively, it's you can't like where
An album, it could be like a book if you see it that way. That each song is a chapter, but the whole book tells one story. Is that that's sort of how you see how you would want an album to come across?
Definitely, Nathan, definitely. As I say, I have the firm idea in my head that, as I said, the first single I've released there, Understand, is Song of Experience, and I think the rest on that are going to follow suit.
Does the theme, does that having an overall theme, an idea of where you want your album to go, does that help you in the songwriting process?
It does and it doesn't, because some things come naturally. Other things you have to sit at it and just look away, leave it for weeks, and then go back to it. But it's always good to have a good general direction to go, I find. And a, a lot of the original, like one of the originals I wrote, it's called Indie because that's where I was living in Indiana. That's the slang for it. But uh, I wanted to write a song. Whether you didn't know whether it was about, say, for example, a woman or a place, one of them songs. And I was up with my buddy in Chicago before I was leaving just to see them. And I wrote that song in less than 10 minutes on his porch when I got up in the morning. And turned around and said to his wife, "You got a pen and paper there?" And wrote, "Do you want to hear a song?" And sorry, "Do you want to hear a song?" Played it. Like, Jesus, where you pull that one out? Was that you've worked on that long? It says, "From your wife handing me the sheet of paper to the eggs are ready. That's how long." So it can come as quick as that, or it can be like some other songs taking months and months, and you just leave it and go back. But I like to get the idea in my head and get myself in that emotive place to write, because you don't point writing a conflicted song when you're in a state of calmness,
No, definitely.
captured rawly, and it can be a very uncomfortable process at times.
Do you think you get more satisfaction out of those nailed it in 10 minutes, or the ones where you really have to, as you chip away and work at it and come back to it when you're in the right frame of mind? Do you find one more, I suppose, like satisfying than the other?
I don't have a preference, but no, I never really thought of that, to be honest. But the ones that take a bit longer, it's kind of like I've come this far. When you get it right, you're like, "I got you now, buddy." I'd say that's more satisfying. I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. It's a good question.
So where can now that you've established yourself as a musician, as it were, how can we find your music, or where can we find your music, and where can we find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Jamesy O'Kane Music, and the same handle for my Instagram. Uh, Hopefully by this stage there'll be a music video up there on YouTube as well, but Spotify and iTunes and Tidal, it should be on there as well to listen. So make sure to check it out if you haven't. I'm excited, but hopefully I'll have some new music up there after that as well to build on this first single.
Well, I definitely do recommend the Bed Signal.
Any ideas?
Maybe
welcome to your
Spotify,
new
that kind of
management team.
thing. Yeah.
This could be this could be something new. Nathan's got all the equipment in the background. We need
Wow.
Simon, so we're sorted there.
Yeah, Simon can
just
do the
show
backing
up.
vocals in his accent.
Yeah, there you go. A multitude of accents will get me everywhere, apparently.
All right, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, it's really good talking to you.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks very
and-
much for having me on, guys. Hey, it's an exciting project when I initially heard about it, and I'm glad that you are doing a great job in getting our voices out there. That's greatly appreciated. So
all the
thanks,
credit
lads.
goes to Simon. I'm just the monkey that helps in the background.
Well, even the monkey has a purpose too.
That's very kind.
Yeah, monkey see,
Yeah.
monkey do, monkey feed and peanuts. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, but more truth in monkey feed and peanuts, I think, at the moment.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to Jamesy again.
Thanks very much, lads. I appreciate it.